Hello, folks. It's your buddy Mike Messier. This is a very special early morning, 3:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on One Mike Messier, where I do my instant movie reviews, and also simulcasting on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan. Now, this is the channel that I used to do Mike's Instant Movie Reviews and have all my stuff, but I split up my YouTube presence. I now have about 5 channels. There's these two, and also One Man in the Camera Films, and the new one, One Artist Mike Messier, and so on and so forth. So, why are we here? Basically, Mark Wahlberg and this dog are in this movie titled Arthur the King. I think it's a movie that everybody can see and enjoy. Is it the most original movie? Not quite. I mean, it's not unoriginal. I would say it's a good family film or just an anybody film. You don't have to have a family to go see it. You can be in the family of the theater audience or a family by yourself for that matter. I enjoyed the film. I saw this tonight. AMC theaters here in Jacksonville, Florida, have these about a once a month deal. They have a $5 movie night where you can go and see a mystery movie. Basically, it's not a film that's a mystery. It's not a mystery film like Clue or some such thing like that. It's a film that you don't know what you're seeing until you get in the theater and see it. So you're taking a leap of faith that you'll like the movie. Typically, they do play movies that are pretty damn good. I've experienced this several times. Allison Brie and John Cena had a movie a few months ago. Some other movies I've seen through this, some horror films and so forth. I was hoping to see the Iron Claw as a mystery movie for a few months, but that didn't develop. A lot of the A24 movies happen to be these mystery movies. Anyway, check your local listings, as they say, to see if one of these mystery movie nights is coming your way. You might be wondering, gee whiz, Micah, what's going on here? Are you joining the Nation of Islam or something? What's with the hat? It just happens to be a baseball hat that I'm wearing backwards, and it has a kind of an interesting effect. But that is my head underneath the hat. Everything's fine. I just was having a little trouble with the hair and the headpiece and all that. So, what's this film about? Well, basically, it's based on true events. I just discovered some of the things that were changed for the film. But basically, in the context of the film, we have this gentleman named Michael. He is an adventure racist, not a racist, but a racer, a racist as in he races. Not he's an adventure racist, but what do you call a racer? One who races. So he's a racer. He's a racer, I guess, but basically a foot racer, not a car racer or a plane racer, but he races on foot. And I guess this is a thing. I never knew this was a thing, but basically it's a thing where groups of 4 people go to these different countries. I guess they do this everywhere except for Antarctica. In the movie, it's the Dominican Republic, and I guess that's because where they filmed a lot of these scenes. I did find out in real life it's a little bit different. It was Ecuador, but this stuff kind of did happen. And basically, he's kind of in America. Michael, the movie begins with all these people nagging at him, Michael, Michael, Michael. Now that's my name as well, so I was having some flashbacks. But then we find out that he's kind of doing the 9 to 5 thing. He's working for his father in realty. He's obviously unfulfilled. He used to be a racer with his wife. There's got to be a better term for this racer, but he used to race with his wife, and now she's kind of the happy housewife. They've got this daughter that they're raising, and he hasn't really bought in yet to the wife and the picket fence and working for his father thing. He can't really deal with that, so his wife kind of basically challenges him to man up one more time, like a Rocky 5 type of scenario. Go out there, get yourself a sponsor, get yourself a team, and go race, because racers race. And so he more or less does. So I mean, we kind of see this guy we're off to the races pretty quick, so to speak. I mean, some of these things we've seen in other films. So what I do like about movies, especially when they're well-made films, is that they know that they have an educated audience. We've seen a bunch of sports films. We've seen a bunch of old guy does one more sporting event type of thing. So they don't have to dwell on this part of the story too much. He goes and he gets his team. Each team has 4 members. I don't know if it's a rule that one member of the team has to be a woman, but the woman that he picks kind of points out like, oh, I'm the designated female. I'm not sure if that's part of the rules or not of this stuff. She's a climber. She's a second generation climber is her specialty. Apparently with these races, the competitors don't know exactly what elements will be in their race until they're actually in it. So I guess a strategy for the smart teams is to have like an expert of different fields, like an expert runner, an expert climber, a geography person, like someone who's good with mapping out the path. And I guess Wahlberg's character of Michael is basically just the generic leader. So blah 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 blah. He does have this kind of alpha male conflict with a guy that's basically put on his team, not by his own choice, but a guy who's like this social media type of guy. They have a macho conflict, ego war at times, and then by the time the movie's over, they've all massaged each other's egos. But the actual heart and soul of the movie, it was kind of interesting because the movie was listed at 2 hours. It didn't feel like 2 hours. It felt like it went by pretty quick. But the main chunk of the activity of this film is going to be this, I guess it's a 10-day race. It's pretty epic. And so, and they know this going in. And it's kind of funny that you see all the teams lined up. They all have backpacks and everything. And, but they know that, like, they're going to be racing for 10 days. So it's just kind of interesting. I've never heard of this stuff, adventure racing, before. I think it's pretty interesting. Like I said, it is a sport, so that's why I'm putting this review on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan channel. And I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, and then, in the time that we're beginning the movie and we're reading Wahlberg's character of Michael and his urban or his suburban lack of happiness, lack of fulfillment, we're also meeting this poor dog who later on will be named Arthur, hence Arthur the King, our title character there. But at the time, we just don't even know what his name is or how he got to where he is. But apparently the dog is hanging out in the Dominican Republic. He's kind of a lone wolf, so to speak, or a lone dog. He looks just like kind of an American shabby dog, but here he is. He's got no owner. He's a street dog. It's a life of peril. It's a life of hunger, and so on and so forth. So the big shtick with this movie comes if you've seen the teaser or the trailer. Basically, the race has begun. Michael's team is kind of in the middle of the pack, so to speak. There's like 60 teams in this thing. They're like in 15th place or some such thing, and his team has taken a little snack break. And Michael's got like these meatballs that he eats. Now, I don't know if they were supposed to be the wife's special meatballs. Like, that would have been nice if they gave the wife like a little bit of credit. I mean, even if that's the type of thing they could have made up. Like, if it was the wife's special meatballs that he brought with him to the Dominican Republic, that'd be kind of cute. But they don't really say that. He just has these fucking protein meatballs that he's carrying around for everybody. He sees this dog and, he offers the sad little dog a fucking meatball. So, of course, the dog's all happy. And because, this is a movie, and I guess this happened in real life too, the team keeps on trudging and so on and so forth. And like 3 days later, the dog shows up. And the dog just pops up there in the middle of this rainstorm, and the dog is there. And the dog is like their guardian angel because the social media guy on their team is about to go walk off a cliff, quite literally. And Arthur, the dog, makes the save. And so, Arthur has saved someone's life on the team. And that's nice. So, Arthur kind of becomes a part of the team. They give him some meatballs. He's having some issues. I mean, it's clear that he's injured, the dog. He has like a really nasty kind of infection on his back. But these people are in no position to help the dog right now. They're in the middle of the race, and the dog is like basically making himself a team member. And, it's kind of exciting. And the dog has found himself a family. So, our character there of Michael says that he's never owned a dog. He's never owned a pet. And so this is a new experience for him. And apparently this story, like all these things happen, and I just don't see any of it. Like all these social media things are such a big fucking deal. I always manage to miss out on. But apparently, this story was a big Instagram thing, and I just didn't know about it because They're taking pictures of the Michael with the dog. It's making headlines worldwide. Everyone gives a shit. For whatever reason, your buddy Mike Messier knew nothing about this in 2016, but apparently this was the big story that everyone's talking about, so much so that here we are making a movie about it. Lo and behold, there is, of course, man versus nature, man versus himself, man versus man. The other team, the opposition in this thing, is another team of four. They're kind of bullies a little bit, at least intellectual bullies, and it comes down to the big kayak race. And I guess I won't ruin it. If you watch this review so far, I've spoiled pretty much the whole goddamn movie, but I won't ruin the race. But I did like the fact that you know we've seen boxing films, we've seen even a proliferation of wrestling films, we've seen football films. We haven't seen adventure racing, and I mean, if you think about it, how many films have you really seen about any type of cross country racing or any type of track and field? I mean, the track and field movies I can remember, there was one personal best, which was like, what's that lady's name? Was it Muriel Hemingway? Like, was that her name? Like, she was like a big thing for a couple of cups of coffee in the mid '80s, or the late '70s. Actually, she's a very pretty lady, and she was in this movie about. I think it was either high school or college track athletes, women, and there was some tinges of lesbianism in that film. Then there was another movie that you probably haven't seen. It's actually a Brad Pitt and Ricky Schroeder movie, or Rick Schroeder, shall I say. They play brothers in a movie about running, which is a pretty damn good movie. I saw that on cable TV a long time ago. I can't tell you the name of it. It could have been like The Wrong Side of the Tracks or some such thing. So we haven't seen a whole lot of running movies. There was Cool Runnings, which was like the John Candy, you know, bobsled team, the Jamaican bobsled team. So this movie, Arthur the King, it really is kind of like I said. I've never heard of this sport before. I don't know if this sport lends itself to television coverage, because if people are racing through these, forests and trees and all this stuff, how can you really cover that for TV? Unless the competitors wore some type of, ref cam like WCW Halloween Havoc 91, or some type of other thing. I don't really see how they can really do that, cover this thing for TV in its entirety. So this film might be the closest thing we have to that for adventure racing. But like, hey, now I'm excited. Adventure racing, who would have guessed? I mean, that would be kind of like if you had bumper cars that were like free reigning bumper cars. Can you imagine? Like you didn't have like a enclosed bumper car ride. You could just like ride the bumper cars free on the road and bump into shit. That would be a good sport. But in any event, I like the movie. Look, it's a movie. It's a father could take a son to. A bunch of 12-year-olds could go see it. I mean, but adults can see this movie too, and no one's going to feel offended. No one's going to feel like the movie's talking down to them or anything. It's a well-made movie. It's a well-acted movie. All that happy horse shit. The dog, for what it's worth, is a pretty good actor. Now let's get into some. So I would say, yeah, go see this movie. This is a 3.5, 3 3/4 of a star movie. I mean, it hits all the mainstream bullet points. You got your annual Mark Wahlberg movie. You got Mark Wahlberg in a sport movie. You got a fucking dog. What else do you need? You know what I mean? You got nature. You got a race. You got a wife at home. That's always nice when you have a movie where like the wife is stuck at home, like checking the internet and checking her phone. Like she doesn't have to be in the middle of stuff. She's just at home, taking care of the kid. That's some old school values. So anyway, I mean, I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was good. I enjoyed it. Um, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's basic, but I enjoyed basic. I thought this movie was entertaining. Any critiques of the film that I have? I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff, like I said, it's kind of cliche. You know what I mean? But that's fine. But I did just check the real life story, and this is kind of interesting how movies work. So apparently, the real story took place in Ecuador for filming purposes. They did film in the Dominican Republic, so why not just call it the Dominican Republic? I'm good with that. What I thought was kind of interesting was The real life story was actually not a guy named Michael, but a guy named Mikhail. And Mikhail apparently was from Sweden. Like the real guy was from Sweden, but for the sake of Hollywood or whatever the fuck, or maybe they had Michael or Mark Rappaport or whatever this fucking name is, Mark Wahlberg, attached to this film, and they didn't think he could pull off a Swedish accent, or they didn't want to go film in Sweden, so they just make Mikhail Michael, and they just Americanize him, and they just make the guy American. And for me as an American, I appreciate that. But if I was, Mikhail from Sweden, maybe I wouldn't. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just kind of funny how American films will go a little bit, like we'll do a little bit of authenticity, like Ecuador, Dominican Republic. What's the difference? He's from Sweden, make him American. So it's just kind of funny. I won't tell you how the race ends. I'll be nice and not spoil it, but I did like how they handled that type of thing. But yeah, the movie's good. Go see it. So there you go, Mike Messier. MikeMessier.com. You can buy my book, Fight or Play Basketball, which is just go to MikeMessier.com, scroll to the bottom. The Foreign Object eBay store, all my YouTube channels, One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan, One Mike Messier for Mike's Instant Movie Reviews and other life rants, One Man and a Camera Films for my films, Instagram, Twitter, all that horse shit. You can find me on MikeMessier.com, and that's it. So have a pleasant morning.